When discussing the top players of the golden era, we often get caught up in who won championships and who played for great dynasties. Names that come to mind, of course, are the likes of Gretzky, Lemieux, Lafleur, Orr, Potvin, etc. But Marcel Dionne was a different kind of legend. He's the superstar who defined greatness in 2 decades of losing and obscurity. Marcel didn't come close to winning a Stanley Cup or even play for many winning teams. But with 731 career goals, he was easily one of the greatest players to ever play the game. In fact, he carried the LA Kings franchise for over a decade until the arrival of Wayne Gretzky in 1988. Now, today in part 3 of our series on Marcel Dionne, we'll go beyond the headlines and learn why he could be the NHL's all-time most underappreciated superstar. Welcome to the Pro Hockey Alumni channel, where we celebrate the legends of hockey's golden era in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. Now, if you remember trying to get the scores of your East Coast teams' road games in LA, Oakland, and Vancouver the morning after a late night West Coast game, this is the community for you. Now, in episode 2 of our Dionne series, we examined his controversial 1975 departure from the Detroit Red Wings to sign a $1.5 million contract with the LA Kings as essentially a free agent. Now, under the rules at the time, the Red Wings were essentially forced to engineer a trade with the Kings, who had just enjoyed a 105-point season characterized by a disciplined defense-first approach. Now, of the players the Kings offered, Detroit chose 2, team captain Terry Harper and rugged forward Dan Maloney. Now, they were both cornerstones on the LA Kings lineup. Now, although Dionne was coming off a 47-goal, 121-point season in 74-75, his arrival in LA was met with skepticism around the league. Despite his amazing talent and unlimited potential, he had earned the reputation as a selfish player in Detroit. Many thought Dionne would destroy the chemistry that had marked the Kings' revival in 74-75.
Shot by Brown. Right in front of shot. Scores! I believe it was Carr. Kings have a 2-on-1. Carr and Murphy. Deep Carr. Murphy opened the goal!
Now here's an LA Times headline from early in Dionne's arrival in LA. Now in this article, Kings owner Jack Kent Cooke called it a tremendous deal and said Dionne was the greatest player in the game. Others weren't so kind. Fred Shero, coach of the 2-time Stanley Cup champion Philadelphia Flyers, questioned the deal, saying, quote, "Harper gave the Kings courage, and Maloney gave them toughness. Can Dionne fit the Kings' way of putting the team first?" Red Wings coach Doug Barkley said he was pleased his team was rid of Dionne. Quote, "I didn't feel that Dionne was a team player, and we got 2 team players in return. Dionne's exceptional as an individual offensive player, but he just didn't play my type of hockey." And finally, outspoken St. Louis Blues center Gary Unger added, quote, "I don't think it was a good trade for the Kings. Dionne is a good player, but he's not a complete hockey player. He knows how to score, but he's not aggressive or tough, and he won't check. He's just not my type of player." Of course, any story of Marcel Dionne has to mention the specter of boyhood rival Guy Lafleur, who was taken number 1 in the 71 draft, while Marcel went as a number 2 pick. As we covered in part 1 of the series, Lafleur had begun to flourish with the Montreal Canadiens, just as Marcel did with the Red Wings in 1974-75. But the rest of the 70s would bring much different experiences for both. When Marcel arrived in the sun-drenched landscape of Los Angeles, Coach Bob Pulford laid down the law. Quote, "You're not going to be a floater here, Marcel. You're going to play both ends of the ice." The Kings began the 75-76 season with a 7-0 loss to the New York Islanders and a 9-0 loss to the Montreal Canadiens. Doubters were everywhere, but the Kings rebounded to finish 6th overall with 84 points, a respectable season, but a significant drop-off from the previous year. Now, Dionne debuted with a strong 40 goals and 94 points, but more crucially, he earned the trust of Pulford with his decent all-around play. Pulford said, ability-wise, Dionne's actions speak for themselves. All his talents are in the great category. His peripheral vision is such that he does an excellent job of passing to his wings. And I'm also quite satisfied with Dionne, the person. He fits in with our club. There are no problems. He's done everything we've asked of him. He's just a fine person. One notable game was Marcel's return to Detroit November 23, 1975. It's a game in which he earned the admiration of his Kings teammates. Detroit fans booed and taunted Marcel all night long, while agitator Dennis Polonich speared him on the first shift and roughhoused him all night. Dionne was later injured in a collision along the boards, but refused to seek medical attention. His toughness was no longer in question. Unlike the 1975 Kings, LA won their first-round playoff series, a swift 2-0 sweep of the Atlanta Flames. Then came the daunting challenge of the Boston Bruins. Now, despite being overwhelming underdogs, the Kings engaged the mighty Bruins in a grueling 7-game battle that captivated both cities. The highlight for Dionne was this performance, a 3-goal game in an LA win in Game 3.
Murphy wound up to shoot. Here's Dionne right on the point. A terrific call. Marcel Dionne. It's Dionne in the corner right out in front. Just missed by Corrigan. Here's a shot by Goring. Fanned on Dionne. Turns and scores. Fires the far corner. A pass across to Hutchison. As the Kings finally come out, Dionne takes it back. Winds up and scores. Hat-trick goal. Look at Marcel Dionne doing a dance out there. Little Beaver's got the hat-trick. There's hats coming down all over the ice.
The Kings lost the final game 7, 3-0 at the Boston Garden. Despite the loss, Dionne had proven he was far more than just a regular season offensive juggernaut. Before embarking on the 76-77 NHL season, Dionne proudly donned Team Canada jersey for the first Canada Cup tournament in 1976. This international spectacle finally brought Canada's best players to clash with the best talent from the Soviet Union, Czechoslovakia, Sweden, Finland, and the U.S. Head coach Scotty Bowman shifted Marcel to right wing for the tournament, and he was placed in a dynamic line with Bobby Hull and Phil Esposito. Dionne impressed with a strong series, setting up both aging hockey icons.
To Telephus, stopped at the line by Potvin. To Dionne, in front to Hull, he scores! Bobby Hull put that in the left-hand side of the net.
Team Canada, considered by many to be the greatest Canadian team ever assembled, ultimately won the tournament with a thrilling win over the Czechs, and Dionne earned respect from his Kings coach Bob Pulford, who was coaching Team USA. Now, Pulford noted how Dionne shifted seamlessly and unselfishly to right wing and decided to play him there for the Kings' 76-77 season. Now, back in the familiar purple and gold of LA, Dionne continued his relentless offensive production as a right wing on a line with center Butch Goring and left wing Tommy Williams. He exploded for 53 goals and a career-high 122 points and was named a first-team NHL All-Star, although he was named as a center even though he played right wing all season long. Now, for the second consecutive year, the Kings faced Atlanta in the preliminary playoff round. This time, the Flames' strategy was simple: intimidate Marcel Dionne. But the Kings, especially tough guy Dave Hutchinson, responded, and the Kings again bounced Atlanta 2-1. However, the Kings were eliminated in 6 games in a playoff rematch with Boston in round 2. That summer, Bob Pulford departed for Chicago, and Ron Stewart stepped in as the new Kings head coach. As his career was moving along, it looked like Dionne would never escape the Kings' coaching carousel and front office fumbles. From 1975 to 1986, Dionne played under a staggering 8 different head coaches. He said, "Seemed like every time I learned what a guy wanted, he was gone. You name him, he coached me. Bob Pulford, Ron Stewart, Bob Berry, Don Perry, Pat Quinn, Roger Nielsen, Mike Murphy, the list went on." Despite the constant upheaval, Dionne never publicly complained. He simply showed up night after night, ready to play. But behind the scenes, the foundation was cracking. Kings GM George McGuire made a series of questionable short-term personnel decisions, none more dubious than the infamous 1978 trade that saw him acquire Boston Bruins third-string goalie Ryan Graham for a 1979 first-round draft pick that the Bruins used to select a defenseman named Raymond Bourque. Dionne was incensed at this trade even before the Bruins drafted Bourque, lamenting, quote, "I want to win a Stanley Cup, but you can't build winning teams with 35-year-olds. The fans know that, and that's why they don't turn out." In 1977-78, the Kings regressed. This dreary season concluded with another early playoff exit, this time a 2-1 series loss to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Following this disappointment, Dionne accepted a unique honor. He was named captain of Team Canada at the 1978 World Championships in Prague. Of course, this tournament was a consolation prize of sorts for NHL stars on teams that didn't make or were quickly eliminated from the NHL's postseason play. With minimal media attention back home, Dionne was nothing short of stellar, leading a determined but underdog Canadian roster to a bronze medal. That's Canada's first podium finish at the tournament since the 1960s. It was vintage Dionne, exceptional play, understated leadership, and a distinct lack of fanfare. He never turned down an invite to represent Canada, although many others did. He later reflected that this tournament was a turning point for him, as he was inspired by the team-first camaraderie that exemplified this undermanned squad. The 1978-79 season saw Dionne reach another level of offensive dominance, 59 goals, 71 assists, and 130 points that was second only to Brian Trottier. And while the Kings struggled, Dionne finally found the perfect line mates with gritty right wing Dave Taylor and midseason minor league call-up Charlie Simmer. That line would soon be dubbed the Triple Crown line. Simmer later recalled the simple advice Marcel gave him upon joining the Kings.
Going into the first game, I was like Luke and Jimmy. I'm standing there and I say, Mars, how do you want me to play? I'm the career minor leaguer. He's a superstar. We got a little college kid on the other side. He tells me, don't touch the puck.
Despite the Triple Crown line's success, the playoffs brought disappointment. A 2-game sweep at the hands of the New York Rangers in the 3-game preliminary round. In 1979-80, the Triple Crown line was the NHL's premier trio, and Dionne reached the pinnacle of individual success with 53 goals, 84 assists, 137 points, and that won the Art Ross Trophy, edging out a young Wayne Gretzky on a goals tiebreaker. Dionne knew that this would be the last time anyone in a long time that was not named Wayne Gretzky would win the Art Ross Trophy.
That was important for me to win it that year because I knew I was only going to have one shot when he did it. I'm still looking back that I know I picked up 2 assists in that first period against Vancouver. I wish I would have got one more because I think the award should have been for both of us, but I guess I was, because I had more goals, I ended up doing a scoring race. But again, it was a great year, not only for me, but for Dave Taylor and Charlie Simmer that really did contribute to that, and I knew Wayne was going to come along and take it over.
Meanwhile, the Triple Crown line etched its name in history, all 3 line mates surpassing the 100-point plateau. Their chemistry was unmistakable.
Goal by Taylor, assist by Simmer and Dionne. Goal by Dionne, assist by Simmer and Taylor.
Throughout cities in North America, fans marveled at the scoring exploits of the Kings' Triple Crown line. Hockey's highest scoring line the past 2 years, and the first line in NHL history to have each member score 100 or more points in the same season.
Cashman back behind the Bruin net. Passes up to Crowder. Back to Cashman. Cashman can't clear it. Held in by Taylor in front to Dionne. He shoots. He scores! For the Blues, can't clear it. Here's Dionne in front. He shoots. Hit the goalpost. Rebound. Taylor to Simmer. He scores! Charlie Simmer!
Dionne grabbed in the corner. Dionne still with it in front to Taylor. Score!
And perhaps his greatest individual honor, Dionne won the Lester B. Pearson Award, now known as the Ted Lindsay Award, as the outstanding player in the league as voted by the members of the NHL Players Association. That broke a 3-year streak of Guy Lafleur winning the honor. But the elation of individual glory was once again tempered by playoff frustration. The Kings drew the formidable New York Islanders and were swept in 4 games. Dionne did not score a goal in the series. The Islanders, of course, would go on to hoist the Stanley Cup. Despite the Kings' continued playoff futility, Dionne was rewarded by Kings owner Jerry Buss with a 6-year, $3.6 million contract, making him hockey's highest-paid player. And now that the Kings had finally begun adding some quality young talent, Marcel had reason to be optimistic about the team's future.
Marcel, in the offseason, you signed a lucrative contract to stay with the Los Angeles Kings, and at the time you had a lot of things to say about the owner of the Kings, Jerry Buss, and how his work, his efforts to build a winning team, his dedication to building a winning team in LA had a lot to do with your decision to stay there. This is the sort of improvement, I assume, that you were looking for, the Kings in 3rd place.
Oh yes, this organization has changed tremendously. I have to say that we have improved so much. You have to look at our defensemen. We have acquired, well, at the end of the year last year when we traded Butch Goring, we lost a great competitor, but we were weak on defense. Then we went and got Gary Unger this summer, and he's played tremendously
for us. You look at Larry Murphy, and I'll tell you right now, he's going to be Rookie of the Year. And the fact that he's playing on the West Coast is going to be awful tough for him, but he's been just unbelievable. Greg Terrion, the same way, he was our third-round pick. You have to look at Jimmy Fox, played in the OHL last year. Then we have Hardy, we have Wells on defense. So you're looking at about 10 new guys on our team, and we're working hard. We have 2 assistant coaches, Parker McDonald and Ralph Backstrom, and everybody's working hard this year, and it's unbelievable, and we're winning.
Now at 29, Dionne showed no signs of slowing down, reaching new career highs in goals in 1980-81 with 58, 135 points, and a plus-minus of 54 on the plus side. He finished third in the league in scoring, trailing only Gretzky and Lafleur. Now he repeated as the Lester B. Pearson Award winner, and the Kings enjoyed a banner regular season with 99 points. But Charlie Simmer suffered a broken leg in March, and the Kings fell apart in the opening round of the playoffs against the New York Rangers. Marcel had now led the Kings to the playoffs for 6 consecutive seasons, but never advanced past the second round. Between 1978 and 1981, the Kings played 12 playoff games. Marcel scored just 1 goal. Meanwhile, Guy Lafleur's trophy case had already boasted 5 Stanley Cup rings and a Conn Smythe trophy. Dionne remained in Lafleur's shadow, the comparisons a constant undercurrent. In the comment section below, let me know how you think Marcel's fortune would have been changed had he been drafted by Montreal and Guy had been taken by the Detroit Red Wings in 1971. The Kings crashed and burned in 1981-82, although Marcel, now aged 30, notched 50 goals. The Kings limped into the playoffs and drew Wayne Gretzky and the powerful Edmonton Oilers in round 1. But fueled by the legendary Miracle on Manchester comeback win at a Game 3, the Kings shocked the hockey world, defeating the heavily favored Oilers in a 5-game series before ultimately falling to Vancouver in the next round. Dionne had a strong postseason, maybe his best ever, with 7 goals in 10 games.
Come up with some big saves tonight. Here's Evans giving it to Dionne, right side. He shoots. He scores. Marcel Dionne cut to the right side of the slot, and he beat Pure on his glove side into the left corner, and the Kings lead 4-2.
While the Kings missed the playoffs in both 1982-83 and 83-84, Dionne continued to add to his impressive resume. In 1982, he became the 9th player in NHL history to score 500 goals.
Into center ice with Dionne and Evans. Pass ahead to Dionne, looking for his 500th goal. He shoots, and he scores! There it is, his 500th goal of his National Hockey League career, and it didn't take him long to get it tonight. 3 minutes into the game, Marcel Dionne getting a standing ovation now from some of the fans here who realize he has become only the 9th man in the history of the National Hockey League to score 500 goals, and the Kings lead 1-0.
And just 2 years later, he became the 4th player to reach the 600-goal mark. Even as his frustration grew with the team's direction, Dionne remained a consummate professional. In the mid-1980s, he took on the role of mentor to a pair of promising young stars, Luc Robitaille and Jimmy Carson. Now, Robitaille would later credit Dionne for instilling in him the fundamental principles of professionalism. Quote, "He led by example. He showed me how to be a pro before I even knew what that meant," said Robitaille. Even though Marcel recorded 94 points in the 85-86 season, Kings coach Mike Murphy began to reduce his ice time in favor of the talented newcomers. A year later, after he hinted to GM Rogie Vachon that he may be better off elsewhere, he was shipped out of town at the trading deadline in 1987.
Marcel Dionne, the second leading scorer in the history of the National Hockey League behind only Gordie Howe, and the bulwark of the LA Kings franchise for a dozen seasons, was traded to the New York Rangers on Tuesday. Marcel Dionne spoke with our Henry Glenn at the Los Angeles International Airport on the way to New York City, and Henry asked Marcel what he thinks Phil Esposito and the Ranger fans are looking for.
Well, it's just that expect me to go out and do the job, and of course I'm not going to make those end-to-end dashes like Wayne Gretzky can, but I just can contribute in some ways.
What it comes down to is Marcel Dionne wanted a chance to play for a Stanley Cup winner or contender. He wasn't going to get that in Los Angeles, at least while he was still active playing. The Kings are an improved team, but Marcel Dionne has done all he can for the Los Angeles Kings. He actually asked to be traded. When he got the news on Tuesday, the goodbye was an emotional one.
I talked to him briefly, and I'm very happy. I didn't think about the Rangers. I thought about other teams, other options, but this is a tough division. They got the Flyers who are doing very well in that division, but they have some good players, and I just
I feel that I can help them. And believe me, I really feel sorry about leaving. I love this organization. The fans have been so great to me and a lot of people. And it's an emotional time for me, okay?
What a class act. What a class act Marcel Dionne is.
And Dionne had a strong 87-88 season as a New York Ranger. It was highlighted by this momentous goal.
Islanders as James Patrick finds Dionne on right wing. He shoots. Rudy, it's in the net. It got by him, bounced back out, and Marcel Dionne has his 700th NHL goal. 33 seconds is all that was left to play in the game. Kelly Rudy got his feet tangled up. And the Islanders with the victory, but some things extended here tonight. And you see the story.
But the Rangers' hiring of head coach Michel Bergeron would spell the end of Dionne's career with a final, poignant twist of irony. Now, Bergeron and GM Phil Esposito had coaxed none other than Guy Lafleur out of a 3.5-year retirement to play for the Blue Shirts in 88-89. Lafleur's comeback dominated NHL news. Once again, Dionne found himself overshadowed, a familiar feeling echoing back the 1971 draft and countless media comparisons. Bergeron benched Marcel in favor of Lafleur. Exasperated, Dionne eventually asked to be demoted to the IHL Denver Rangers, where he'd unceremoniously finished the season and his career. Now, he ended his NHL career with games played at 1,348, goals at 731. That was second at his retirement behind Gordie Howe. Assist total of 1,040. That was third all-time at retirement. Points at 1,771. That was second all-time at retirement. His points per game, 1.31. That's still in the top 10 of the NHL. Marcel had his number 16 retired by LA in 1990, and he was inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame in 1992. Now, his younger brother Gilbert Dionne would achieve the ultimate team success, winning a Stanley Cup with Montreal in 1993. Marcel was his biggest cheerleader. It's about the journey, he said. I gave everything I had. I played hard. I showed up. I made peace with what I didn't win. Marcel Dionne never benefited from a stable management, Hall of Fame teammates, or dynasty-laden rosters. He simply produced, most often in obscurity, but always with class and dignity. Now, he may not have won championship rings. That often dominates hockey's historical narrative, but his name stands proudly alongside the very best who ever laced up a pair of skates. That's the legacy of Marcel Dionne, the uncrowned king and the most underappreciated player of his generation. In the comment section below, let's discuss Marcel's place in hockey history. Where do you think he ranks among the NHL's all-time greats? Now, if you enjoyed this look back at the career of Marcel Dionne, check out this video of another legend of hockey's golden era.
Cleared away by the skate of Lorimer. Kept in front. Dionne. His shot. Score!